Wednesdays. This is Pastor Wil with You Win on Wednesday, and I want to be provocative today. I want to suggest that you and I are not where we ought to be. In fact, we often think more highly of ourselves than we should. At the close of Luke's gospel, there is this futile conversation among the disciples as to who will be the greatest. Jesus ends this discussion by talking about sacrifice and servitude. But Peter says, I am ready to go to prison, even to death. And Jesus says, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. Jesus is clear that Peter is not where he ought to be. In fact, like us, he's thinking more highly of himself than he ought. And his proximity to Jesus does not prevent his struggle. This is the same Peter who's miraculously rewarded with a boatload of fish for having lent his boat to the master. This is the same Peter in the midst of the storm steps out on the water and walks. Same Peter who is invited by the master himself to the Mount Transfiguration, and he witnesses Moses and Elijah ministering to Jesus. And yet even this close relationship does not preclude him from the pangs of discouragement, anxiety, and fear. I want to suggest that Peter is not as strong as he thought he was. I also want to say to you that our distance from Jesus manifests itself in our worsening decline. By the 3rd denial, Peter begins to employ swearing and profanity. I want to suggest that the further we are from the light, the darker we become. But guess what? He's a restorer. And at the close of John's gospel, Jesus shows up on the shore after breakfast, and he's talking with his disciples, and he says to Peter, do you love me? And Peter responds, yes, Lord. And a second time he asks, and Peter responds the same. And a third time he asks, do you love me? And the scripture says Peter is grieved. And I believe he's grieved because he's reminded of the 3 times he denied the master. But Jesus is not bringing up an ugly past. He's trying to restore him. He's saying, in essence, for every time you denied me, I'm going to restore you. And I'm saying to those of you who are listening to me, no matter how decadent your behavior, no matter how ugly your past, no matter how close you once were with him, he is a restorer. Where sin abound, grace do much more abound. The psalmist said, he restores my soul, and he leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. I want you to pray with me. I'm going to pray for your restoration. Call the number on the screen, because everyone I know can use prayer.